YouTube. I have to go to YouTubeville.
YouTube.
Fish Q&A.
We are fixing the stuff. We're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Yay.
Glad you're here. So, real quick, just right off the start, we're trying to deal with, and maybe let us know, why do those fish tanks look so bad? At least on our screens, they look horrible.
They look
like they lack all color,
drab
but
and
yet
blue or something.
we're in color, and maybe it's a different background. I don't know, but something is seriously wrong. There's nothing wrong with our tanks. It's just they look, even on these other screens that I'm looking at, they just look bad. So we're going to have to fix that because they don't look like that in real life, and that's pretty sad. So anyway, enough about that. Glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here. It's Wednesday. It's 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, which means the coolest people on the earth, you, are hanging out with us. So thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Glad you are here. Just trying to get all of my electronics all ready to go here. Are your electronics all ready to go?
I believe so. I'm at live chat.
Good. Okay. So anyway, they look super bright. Actually, I know, and I turned down the light. So that's the weirdest thing about the tanks is I actually tried to turn them down because a couple people had mentioned, right behind your head, there's a really bright light showing off. A lot of reflection. I'm sorry about that.
Put up like a sign that says we know our colors are whacked out tonight.
Very light and bright. I don't know what's going on. Sorry. Everything else is the same. Something is going on there. I actually turned the lights down and it's making it worse. I don't even know. So
it's a mystery.
Yeah, I guess it's more of a podcast. Don't watch. Just put the thing down and, type your questions in and be like, oh, yeah, it is really bright. We're going to have to figure it out. Next week, I promise, we'll get the situation all fixed up. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see. So
I got a question here I have to answer right away.
Oh, my gosh.
Because I'm so excited. All right. Fish and Shrimp by Rich asks, what can the little containers that plants come in be used for? Those are called net pots, and I did a video. The small scape net pots. Look it up. There you go. There's lots of things you can use them for. They're really cool. They're called net pots.
Yeah,
remember
they are.
When I did the video and you're like, nobody's going to know what net pots are?
Yeah.
A lot of people know it by that name, net pots.
I suppose so. Somebody was saying, something's wrong with the trees. Well, Joanna changed the picture, but I don't think that would do what it's doing to the tanks. I don't know.
It's very similarly colored. It's just a single print as opposed to two individual prints. I don't know. We'll fix it. It'll be all better next week.
Wayne says, hello, KG Tropicals. Good night. For some reason, I thought it was Wednesday. It is Wednesday. I'm wearing a cool shirt. I wanted to wear the cool. Oh, you are wearing a cool shirt.
Yes, we are KG Tropical themed. And why do you think it would be a special reason? It's Lisa's birthday.
It is Lisa. I was like, what are you talking about?
It's Lisa's
Happy
birthday.
Lisa.
Happy birthday, Lisa.
She's probably celebrating. They're probably celebrating.
Celebrating all
week. If you guys
week.
are watching this on her birthday, you're in trouble. But watch it on the replay. Happy birthday to Lisa. So anyway, we don't have a thing planned. We don't have a theme planned tonight. It's just going to be about you and us, your questions, your fish keeping comments, and we're going to try to provide some answers.
One answer?
And just one answer. It's all you're getting tonight. It's going to be, no matter what you ask, it's going to be the exact same answer the entire time.
That would be an amazing answer if it could answer multiple different questions.
It would be. Not only that, but we do have another giveaway. Like I said last week, we're behind on our giveaways because we were away and we missed a couple of live streams. So now we got to cram in all the monthly giveaways the last couple of weeks. So there you have it. That's what we're going to do. So we got another cool one in store for you, just because we think it would be awesome. So things that have happened, things coming up. So the things that have happened on Monday, you and I did a video on Guppy Buddies. That's our buddy series, tank mates for guppies. If you like guppies or are thinking about adding guppies to a tank, I like that word, guppies. It's a very fun word.
Well, Guppy Buddies is super fun because it reminds me of bubble guppies.
Yeah, so we did that on Monday, so check it out if you haven't. Today, you talked about, on your channel, the small scape. What did you talk about today?
I talked about our dear friend, duckweed, and how to say bye-bye.
Duckweed.
Never thought it was possible, but I said adieu.
Yeah, so bye-bye to duckweed, so you got that video. And then, let's see here, tomorrow we got members. Friday is a video that I haven't decided which one I want to release just yet, but I'll figure that out. I promise it'll be worth your time. Saturday, you got something cool coming up on the small scape. That's what we have going on. Places we're going to be, well, next month, I already mentioned, I believe, actually, the Greenwater Swap, for some reason I thought it was later in the month, but they moved it up. Or maybe they didn't move it up. Maybe I just misremembered, but it's the 11th
Really?
of September. And
Greenwater.
Greenwater
Okay.
is, and then the GCCA, I want to say is, I don't know, it's either the 18th or the 25th. It's one of those weekends, so we're going to be at both. Looking forward to that. And then, of course, that's September.
Mm-hmm.
And then October, as many of you know, Aquashella. I believe that's the 8th and the 9th. That's what the deal is there. So that's where we're going to be, what's coming up, what's going on, and all that stuff. So, do you have anything you want to add before we jump into questions? I just realized, pardon my reach, I forgot my liquids, my water.
Well.
So now I get to drink out of this crazy thing.
Oh, hey.
Got a
James
little
is here.
tiny nozzle. What's up, dude?
James, what's up?
What's up, man? What's up? So, all right, I want to look through here. By the way, thank you to our moderators. Dave is here, hanging out. Oink Master's here, hanging out. Thank you so much for helping hold down the fort. I thought I saw Wendy at one point, which is awesome. And I'm just scrolling around here, seeing if there's any other.
Yeah, we got lots of people
in
here.
the house. Oh, yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah, we got second floor aquatics in the house.
So,
Oh, Father Fish says,
what's up?
I have guppies.
You do have guppies.
They are some lucky guppies, too,
Yeah,
Father
the lucky
Fish.
guppy. That should be
The lucky guppy.
That should be the name of like a fish tavern. We don't drink or anything, and we wouldn't frequent taverns, but I think we'd have to go to the Lucky Guppy. And maybe it would be a guppy with like an Irish thing. So I'm just giving you guys a bunch of ideas. It's free. There you go. That's why you come here, for free ideas.
That would be amazing.
Open up the tavern, the Lucky Guppy.
With like dry scaping area next door for us aquascapers. That would be cool.
How awesome would that be? So, Jorge and Pets, you're in town. So, I mean, you're local. Where is Aquashella? It's in Schaumburg. I always say Schaumburg Convention Center. It's actually not the name of the place. No. And now I don't know the actual name of the place. Do you know the name, the official name?
I did,
Maybe
but now
somebody who's been
thinking
there.
about it, it's knocked it out of my head.
Yeah, because it sounds so right, doesn't it? It sounds like that's like the place it should be.
Well, I got
It's in Schaumburg.
Renaissance stuck in my head, and I don't.
That's a hotel motel. Actually, it's just a hotel.
Yeah, I know. But that word is stuck in my head that I can't move it to the side and think of the actual hotel name. Schaumburg.
It's something. Anyway, it's in Schaumburg. And it was there last year, and it's on the website. But yeah, for people who are in the Midwest and beyond, it's definitely a cool place to consider going. Let's check this out. Mark gifted 5 Primetime Aquatics memberships. That's really cool, Mark. Thanks for doing that. That's really awesome. I appreciate you doing that. So that was cool. And by the way, before I forget, if you do have a question, it's always helpful to put the @Primetime Aquatics in front of your question. It highlights these questions in orange, or at least our name, and so we can kind of key in on those things. Our eye just kind of gravitates towards that. So, hiya, Jason and Joanna. What's up, dude?
Whip.
He's going to be at Aquashella. I just know it. And if you're not, I just announced it to the world. So hope you've got a free weekend because
give him
I said that.
We should give him like his own booth.
His own booth. Whip's booth. That would be cool.
Well, it would be Whip's World.
That's right. All right, let me see here. I am looking around for the things already. Tracy says, hello. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. What bottom feeders can I keep in a 29? Is there such thing as a sociable pleco? I think there is.
Yeah.
I think so for a 29, I would put a bristlenose in there all day, and I find most of our bristlenose are out and about and relatively visible most of the time. Some are more reclusive than others, but I see them quite a bit. And actually, I do have to say, this is not necessarily great for a 29. Our snowball pleco in the bottom 75 with our albino heckelei, if you saw part 4 maybe of the fish room tour, I got him on video, and he's pretty much out almost every morning now. It's like he knows when there's food. He really likes the Northfin Bug Pro stuff that I drop in there, and he goes crazy for it. So I've always said, man, the higher end plecos, they always seem to hide, but that one in particular doesn't really hide all that much anymore, which is cool. So for your 29, yeah, the bristlenose are fine. The clown plecos will be fine for a 29, but they do tend to hide a little bit more. Our one upstairs in our kitchen tank, every morning it's out on the same leaf and on the same piece of wood, but for the most part we don't see it. I've got probably 5 other tanks with clown plecos, and I might see them once every 4 or 5 months. So.
Oh, and for the giveaway, it's only the contiguous 48 states.
Yeah, the lower 48, because we can't
Yeah.
ship outside the country, especially some of the
could.
stuff, because sometimes we do meds and chemicals and things, so that's definitely got to stay.
Yeah.
It's got to stay in the 48, unfortunately.
So far, yeah, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Oh, and I looked it up. It's the Schaumburg Convention Center. That's what it's called.
What is it?
The Schaumburg Convention Center.
What did I say?
I don't know.
I think that's what I said.
Is it?
Okay, well, thank you for looking that up. But anyway, that's Aquashella. And I like that location because it's big, there's plenty of parking, and there is a hotel
Yes, there
attached
is.
right to the venue. So for you out-of-towners, it's nice because you just walk on downstairs and there you go. There's a place right next to it. Matthew says, can I keep 5 white clouds with 1 scarlet batis in a 5-gallon? Temp is 72. And can I feed the white clouds flake food? P.S. Can't wait for the giveaway. So, all right, there's a few questions there. White clouds and a scarlet batis, probably. I don't necessarily think that's a combination that's going to be horrible. Scarlet batis temperature. So, I don't know about that. I don't know if the 72, white clouds are fine at 72. I don't remember the scarlet batis, what its lower range is. So that one, just look that up because I can't remember. I always assumed it was, tropical fish temperatures, 75, 76, 78. So that might be hitting the lower end, but don't quote me on that. In terms of flake food, yeah, that's pretty much what our white clouds eat, is they're just always eating flake food. However, the scarlet batis, the ones that we have kept, never did. I don't think, right? Is that true? We always fed that tank live baby brine.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things with the scarlet batis. Maybe some of you have gotten yours to eat flake foods or pelleted foods. We have not been able to do that with the ones that we have kept. But I think scarlet batis have a little bit of an attitude, so sometimes, they can be a little assertive, but with white clouds, they're so goofy. The only other issue, and hold on, because now that we've got the tank size issue, a 5-gallon, I don't think I would keep white clouds in a 5-gallon. I don't think there's enough room there. Maybe if it was like a 5-gallon bookshelf where they had more horizontal swimming space, I would, but the scarlet batis is fine. But I don't think I'd keep the white clouds there because they want to be in a group. You said 5 of them, which is, more of like the minimum. But I'm not sure I would keep them in a 5. I'd go at least a 10. Do you have something you'd like to talk about?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing. Sharing is caring. Hold on.
Here's one from Matthew does stuff. My common Pleco seemed to die overnight. Very, very low ammonia. Any recommendations on a Pleco that will be fine and tough with African cichlids and actually eat algae?
Yeah, the common. All right, so hold on. There's a couple things going on. You said very low ammonia, which means is the tank not done cycling yet, because there really shouldn't be any registrable. I can never say that. Any ammonia in the tank, right? So you should not be seeing ammonia on your test strips and on your liquid test kits. So that would indicate maybe this tank is not done cycling. Maybe it is. Maybe you just had an ammonia spike. But that also means if you've got ammonia going on and you haven't had the nitrite spike yet, that's coming. So we have to be careful there. And I've done videos on how to lower ammonia. I've done videos on how to lower nitrite. I've talked a million times about adding live nitrifying bacteria in the form of like Fritz 7, or if there's an existing spike, Fritz Turbo Start, which adds the microbes that break down the ammonia, break down the nitrite, and give you nitrate. So just keep an eye on that. The second part of your question about the Pleco being, what Plecos are okay with African cichlids, we keep bristlenose Plecos in pretty much all of our tanks. And a lot of them have different types of cichlids. We've got Mbuna, and I've got 4 or 5 of them in there. Bristlenose Plecos, that is, in a 75-gallon with Mbuna. I've got them in peacock tanks. I've got them in South American and Central American tanks. So I find them to be very versatile. I also think that if you're going to do that, have some rock work or some structure or a cave or something they can retreat to if they feel like they need to. And they do eat algae, at least ours do. That's one of the reasons why we don't scrape a lot of algae off of glass, because of our bristlenose Plecos. Rob, thank you so much for the super chat. Hey, J&J, wonder if you know anything about tumors and bettas. Been experiencing that more and more with my bettas. Is it due to overbreeding, bad genetics, diet, stress? Appreciate you guys. Well, thanks for the question. I would tend to agree with you on your first couple of suggestions, overbreeding and bad genetics, for sure. You've had how many bettas that got tumors? At one point, you were on like a streak.
Oh my gosh.
3 or 4?
Yeah, I
And
had
different
a
bettas,
bad
different tanks,
streak
different
going.
times. So it's becoming, in my opinion, more common. And I think it is a lot. I mean, a tumor, it's not going to be as much, oh, you know what, the diet wasn't great. I mean, that can contribute to it because it can lower the immune response for sure. Obviously, stress can do that, but let's face it, most bettas are not put in stressful situations where they're fighting flow or they're constantly being fin nipped and having to defend themselves or in a tank with other bettas. So it's most likely bad genetics, overbreeding, and it's happening not just with bettas. I'm finding that problem most severely, actually, bettas and guppies. Guppies are horrible. Store-bought guppies are, not all of them, but I've had extraordinarily bad luck with just your regular store-bought guppies, especially when they come from some of the big box stores. I've told this story before, but for a while, I didn't think I could keep guppies. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why do they not live? And then I started getting guppies directly from breeders, directly from our Chicago Live Bear Society or swaps, and they did great. They live like they're bulletproof, but the ones at the stores, not so much. Not so good. Do you have something now that you'd like to share with the class?
Now I've got that, because you said they're super tough. Now I got the song Titanium stuck in my head. Anyways, there was one that I wanted to.
What does that have to do with anything?
Titanium is tough. And the song is
but there's no
about being tough.
I'm right that there's no being tough lyrics in that actual song.
Yeah, there is. Titanium, because you're like.
Was that like Lady Gaga or something?
No, that's
Who sings that song?
Oh my gosh.
That was a pool song, right? When the boys were young
It's a
and we'd
pool
go to
song.
the pool during the day, and they'd always play like all these songs on a loop. To this day,
That's a good.
those
Yeah.
pool songs from back when they were younger would pop up like, oh, it's a pool song. Remember the summer of whatever that was.
I always think it's Rihanna, but I know it's not.
I think it's
Titanium.
Or maybe it's
song. No, it's not.
And then it's Lady Gaga. It's got to be one of those
No,
two.
it's not.
I'm going on record.
No.
I'm probably wrong.
It is absolutely not.
Ted Steele, thank you so much for the super chat. No
Oh,
question
Sia.
there.
Sia.
Sia.
Sa.
Oh,
Is
Sia.
it-
Sia.
How do you pronounce that?
S-I-A?
I'm too old to know.
I don't remember. But
S-I-A.
okay, yep, I was wrong. I
David
was
Guetta.
totally wrong. Ted, thank you so much for the super chat. Don't see a question, but if you've got one, you don't have to do another super chat. Just play it. Write it up down there, and Joanna will look out for it. Appreciate it. 3DRC, thank you very much for the super chat. I have a planted 5.5 gallon Neocaridina tank I want to use for breeding. I bought a plant that infested the tank with scuds. Help. I've
Bummer.
never had to deal with them. So I, unfortunately, am not going to be a super big help on that one. I don't know. I mean, there are fish that will eat the scuds, but unfortunately, those same fish will probably take care of your breeding shrimp as well. But I don't know if there's anything you can put in the tank for scuds that would not harm the shrimp as well. So what that means, like I said, if someone's dealt with them and knows what to do, please help out 3DRC. Tell them what you did, because I don't want to speak from, maybe this will work, and I haven't actually done the problem. So, Joe, been a member for 3 months. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Lost 2 adult super red plecos. Oh, back-to-back days. Auto water change, 3 gallons a day and a 20 long, and pretty much 0 across the board. Thoughts? Okay, so you're saying no ammonia, no nitrite, probably very little nitrate. You're doing, well, what would be basically a 15% water change every single day. So you're turning over the water frequently, and you lost back-to-back adult super red, which, sometimes when they're younger, you're like, okay, well, you can kind of see sometimes the younger fish, they might make it a couple months or maybe a few weeks in some cases, and then they die back. But these were adults with water. So the only thing that really stands out is how old were they? Were they reaching the end of their natural life? Sometimes we don't necessarily like to think that way, but if they've been around for a number of years, then maybe it was just their time. However, assuming that's not the case, I wonder if something was in your water. Could it be possible? It's auto water change. Is it coming from a well? Is it running through a an RO system? Is it running through some kind of a dechlorination process? I have noticed that we will, from time to time, if we do water changes around a very, very heavy rain, this has happened to us a few times. It doesn't happen all the time, but a few times it's happened where we had a heavy rain, either the day before or the day of a water change. We water change some tanks, and our Plecos, we didn't have super reds, we had standards, but they were particularly susceptible to whatever happened in that water change. We lost a bunch. That was also the time when we lost our tinfoil barbs, our ballast sharks, so some of these fish that are in constant motion. So there was something in the water that it's the only suggestion I have is there was something in the water when we did that water change, because those happen to be tanks that we water changed, and all the other fish and all the other tanks were fine. So sometimes that can be an issue.
Yeah, it's a big bummer.
Yeah.
And just so you know, the song Titanium is about being tough despite what the world is throwing at you. I looked it up. So
This is what she does in our live streams, everybody.
take that. You got to listen to the lyrics when you're jamming to.
But was there any lyric in there about be tough?
Well, I just looked at the recap. I don't have time to read the whole lyrics.
Can you sing it for us? Can
No.
you do it?
Titanium.
Oh boy, here we go. Oh, look at that. Everybody's leaving.
That's all I'm going to give you. All
That
right.
wasn't even good enough to get the song stuck in our head.
Nope. Here's a question from Marley on Bettas.
Okay.
How many female Bettas would you put in a 15-gallon? Or should I invest in a 29 even though I don't have the money?
One. In either one of those tanks. I would only put one. So I did a video on female sororities. And when I talk to a lot of people who breed Bettas, when I talk to a lot of people who successfully kept female sororities, because we don't do that very often, the times that I have tried it, I have failed. They have almost universally stated that you have to overstock those tanks, almost like you would an African cichlid tank. In some of those tanks, like the one I showed you in that video, there was, I think it was a 55-gallon with 100 female Bettas in there. Now, long term, that requires crazy amounts of water changes, and they do that at their shop because they have a very similar setup at their shop here in the Illinois area. But they definitely recommended at least a Betta per couple gallons, and they also said at the same time it's probably not advisable to do long term unless you've got like a 40 breeder or a 4-foot tank or even larger. So I, generally speaking, don't recommend the sorority tanks unless you've got that larger tank, unless you're willing to go a little bit crazy on the overstocking, understanding that significant risk comes with overstocking a fish tank, regardless of the type of fish. But again, now we're talking about Bettas, and we just mentioned that's more, certainly in the last 5, 6, 7 years, it just seems like the Betta genetics and the quality of Bettas has kind of gone down at the big box stores and stuff. That's why you probably want to check out a place like KG Tropicals for your Bettas, because they take a little bit more care in selecting Bettas and making sure they're not sending out sick fish that have these issues. So
Lisa's a great Betta mom. She's
Yeah.
like the best Betta mom.
so that being said, the Betta
400
sorority,
Bettas.
15-gallon is not going to cut it. 29-gallon for the most part. Maybe some of you have tried it, like, oh, I was fine for 3 years. But I've tried it in 75 gallons and had like 5 or 6 of them in there, and they just tore each other. Eventually, not right away, but eventually they just wound up picking one another off until there was only one.
Here's a good question. Sorry, I'm going to go again.
Go, please.
All right, double or nothing. This is from, and I know I'm not pronouncing it right, Arav. Did you ever do an unheated tank? If so, do you have fish recommendations for I think it was for a 40-gallon tank? Well, these are unheated.
Yeah. So all 4 of these are, well, I shouldn't say that. All 4 of them were. The one that's over here, I'm doing the long-term test on the aquarium co-op heater, which, by the way, it's been up and running for
That's right.
a couple months, and it's been working fine. I would also say that we say these are unheated, but again, you have to remember we keep our house fairly warm.
True.
So these tanks, while they're unheated, are probably still kicking 75, 76, 77, especially in this area here, which is a loft that's upstairs and the heat kind of rises. So, but we've got tanks downstairs that are unheated. You've got a lot of options. Was there a second part to that question?
What would you suggest in a 40?
Oh, a 40 breeder, you got tons of options in a 40 breeder for unheated tank, fish that don't need a heater. Now, let's assume that your house is more normal and you're not kicking at 78 degrees all year round to make sure your fish room's at 82. If you are a more I don't know, average person, you're probably keeping your house in the low 70s at a more comfortable temperature for most people. So there. In that case, your tanks are probably running 70-ish. Okay, you usually figure at least a couple degrees less than the ambient room temperature. You got white clouds. You've got your paradise fish. You've got a lot of your goodeids, almost all of your goodeids, which a lot of people don't even consider, and they are really cool. Mm-hmm. Some of your cory cats will run that low. Not all of them, but some of them don't mind that. Your bristlenose plecos, excuse me, will definitely be fine in the upper 70s. We've kept them back when we were heating the tanks in the fish room. We did have a couple of tanks that didn't have a heater. Bristlenose ran fine. Obviously, all different types of goldfish. I'm not saying mix all these fish together. I'm just saying here's some of your options. All your Neocaridina would love that temperature. We run them really warm, and so what happens is because we run them so warm, they breed fast and die fast. We are shaving time off of them because those warmer temperatures speed up the metabolism of those shrimp. So if you run them a little cooler, they won't breed for you as quickly, but they're also going to probably have a longer lifespan. I'm blanking now. I mean, we're going to do a video about that at some point because there's a number of fish. The Gymnogeophagus, if you like cichlids, they will go through a cooling period, and even when they're in that warmer phase, sometimes you don't have to go quite so crazy on the temps. What else? I lost it. I had another one in my brain, but anyway, those are just some starter pack options. Okay, hold on, I need your help because all the letters are blending together because you know me, I don't wear glasses. Is this Michelle?
Where are you? Right
here. Because the I's and the L's all blend together.
Yes, I would say Michelle.
Okay, well anyway, thank you so much for being here for the last 4 months. Appreciate it. Surprising my cousin with dream planted 10 gallons. She has no idea.
Oh.
That's really cool. Currently cycling. Can I leave plants in and drain down to sand for the 5-hour drive? Yeah, spray them down. Spray them down and cover the top with like a saran wrap. Right? Is that what you do?
That's what the pros do. You got it.
Yeah, that's what the pros do.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done that. In fact, 5 hours is nothing. When we go down to, although you don't have plants.
I don't have plants in there, but I could. I would just need to take it in, to the hotel or wherever we're stopping.
So what I was going to say is, when we drive to the Aquashellas from Chicago to Dallas, from Chicago to Orlando, you sometimes, for the OASA, not the scaping contest, but for the OASA booth, you'll pre-scape some of it.
The hardscaping.
Yeah, the hardscaping. But some people will actually put the plants in, spray them down. And a lot of people, when they win those tanks, because they raffle them off, that's what they do is they drain the water, spray it all down, cover it so that it's kind of almost got like a rainforest sort of moisture in there, and they're fine. They can travel with those and not have too many issues.
And if you want to bring the plants separate, all you have to do is put them in a Ziploc sandwich bag with a wet paper towel, and they'll be good.
Yep, and then you can plant them right there. Cool. But you've got it set up, so I think you probably want to keep it. You've got it the way you want it. So, yeah, spray it down, cover it with saran wrap. 5 hours is not going to usually be an issue. Francisco says, I like this channel. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you like it. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Hold on, the chat's about to get stuck and skip around because that's what it sometimes does. So let it get stuck, and then I'll scroll back up because that's how my chat rolls. Joe, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for reminds us it's Lisa's birthday. Yeah. So now
I just found out when I
got
home from work.
If you're a Facebook person,
I don't have
Facebook, wish her happy
so
birthday.
I miss out on all these great tidbits. I would have loved to have known that this morning.
Yeah, that's like the one thing Facebook is okay at, and then like obviously you have to deal with all the drama of Facebook, which I completely stay out of. That's why people always, I get a lot of these requests for joining groups and things, and I'll lurk in the groups. I almost never leave a comment, and the few times I have,
You've paid for it?
Yeah, it just didn't turn out well, so I don't want to be that person.
And I think there's something with uploading videos to Facebook these days with music. There's some issue with that.
Who knows?
That's what I heard through the grapevine.
Well, that's the Facebook vine?
Yeah, the face vine.
And thank you so much for the super chat. We have 2 cycled, heavily planted tanks, lower stock, and we can't bring the nitrates down, registering higher on the master test suggestions. All right, so if they're heavily planted, are you adding liquid fertilizer? If you are, cut back, because liquid fertilizer obviously is going to add nitrates to your tank. Also, consider that if you have a heavily planted tank, and let's say most of them are root feeders, so you've got a lot of sword plants, a lot of crypts, they're primarily, their roots are taking in most of the nutrients, and so they may not lower nitrate levels as much as you would hope. If you've got a nubius, they don't grow very fast, and so they might not be lowering the nitrates as much as you would hope. What really has an impact on nitrate reduction in terms of aquatic plants, in my opinion, are the ones that we generally use for floating plants. So your hornwort, your guppy grass, duckweed, although I don't know if you really want that in your tank. Water wisteria, water sprite, those ones tend to grow fast, suck a decent amount of nutrients out. If you wanted to plant pothos roots in the tank and the stems and have the pothos grow around the tank, not in the water, that can lower nitrate quite a bit. But if you're fertilizing, cut back. And then if you've got some of those, if you don't have a lot of fast growing plants, you might have to just start doing some water changes and bring it down that way. Also, just be aware of what's going in your substrate. Now, you said it was heavily planted but lower stock, so you probably don't have a lot of waste in your substrate, I wouldn't think, but if it starts to build up, that can contribute to higher nitrate levels as well. Do you have something you'd like to share with the class?
Lynn says duckweed. Arg.
Duckweed. I learned to like
concur.
it. I don't mind the duckweed. I know. It's there. It's kind of like snails. People talk all the time about, hey, you've got snails in your tank.
Both of those. Just
Yeah, I know. And they're never going away because they're now
They can.
If the only tanks that don't have snails are tanks that have fish that eat them. Lakeisha, thank you very much for the super chat. Happy to be here, a little tardy to the party. Nice. My question is, what tank mates would you recommend in a 20 long with Hillstream loaches? So, that was the other one, Hillstream loaches. They can go a little bit lower in temperature as well. I think that was one that was popping in my brain. So, Hillstream loaches, obviously, they're not aggressive. They don't do a great job of defending themselves. So, in a 20 long, I'd probably keep it. I don't know if you've got a little bit of flow going on there too for them, but so part of it depends on what temperatures are you kicking. Are you doing just normal 75, 76, 77, or are you keeping a little bit lower? If it's normal, I mean, just go with your more community type fish. Some of your rasboras, your smaller ones, your smaller neons, because you could want a bigger group in a 20 long. I think I would go that route. Maybe some of your live bears, like your platies, your guppies, your endlers, would probably be okay. But part of it depends on the temperature that you're keeping the fish at too.
There was a comment. I don't know. My chat is like jumping like crazy about cool plecos, but not for a bundle. Any suggestions? I'm gonna go first, then you can go because you'll have probably better suggestions than me. But I would like to just throw out the clown pleco. The clown pleco is awesome. A little bit on the smaller side, but he's super cool. Don't forget about him. And then also the long fin varieties are super cool. Like what is that, lemon drop?
Yeah, you got the lemon drops, you got the albinos,
greens,
the standards. We've got green
dragons.
Yep, super red.
Of course, super
all those ones we just mentioned outside of the clown plecos are bristlenose. And I know we talk a lot about them, but I also find them to be one of the more hardy plecos and one of those types, the bristlenose, where they're not crazy expensive, where you can still pick up even the long fin varieties. On the smaller side, it's not unusual, like, oh, I just paid 10, 15, 20 bucks for this thing, as opposed to the other types of plecos that we've had in our fish room. We've had royal plecos, which get really large, and they tend to be some of the more less expensive ones, but when they get full grown, I've seen royal plecos that were huge, and they're some of the biggest bodies on a pleco you'll ever see. We have blue phantom plecos, but they hide a lot. But I do think they're cool.
They are very cool.
The zebra pleco. We had the sultan pleco, which I thought was cool. Kind of looked like a zebra in a way. So did I say zebra pleco? I meant snowball. Sorry, snowball. The sultan pleco kind of looked like a zebra. Those are cool. The green phantom plecos are pretty awesome as well. So there's options. I'm not a pleco guy because I don't keep a lot of them, because I don't want to spend a lot of money to not see a fish for months on end.
Yeah,
so,
that's kind of a bummer.
Okay, so Akeisha says, keeping room temp for me 71, 74. So I'm assuming then it's an unheated tank. That changes a lot with your Hillstream loaches. Then you're doing like the white clouds. Maybe I'm telling you, the goodies, look them up. The Scyphia multipunctata are really cool fish. Tiger limia would be another one where you could probably go that route as well. So, yeah.
Lynn says it was the gift that she got from you.
What's that?
Duckweed.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Watch my
Duckweed.
video.
Well, yeah, watch the
And
video.
Mark even reminded us, HAP. HAP. Do you even know what that means?
Well,
Did
yeah, I
you
watched it. I did watch the video.
Good.
You think I was going to watch it? I had to watch it. I'm like, wait a minute.
Sometimes
We
you
got
don't
rid
have
of duckweed.
time.
I'm like, you didn't get rid of anything. So,
What do you mean I didn't get rid of anything?
well, you personally.
Don't give any spoilers.
I'm not. I'm just saying that somebody else had the idea. Sodar says, are you and John from KG Tropicals having a best beard in fish keeping on YouTube contest? Notice he's growing his. Here's a funny story, and it was before Aquashella. He calls me, and he's like, you know how people sometimes get us confused? I was like, yeah. He's like, I think it's about to get worse. I'm like, what did you do? He's like, I'm growing out my beard. I'm like, John, that's just great because it's bad enough right now. You're making it even worse. It's fine. Here's a funny story. Yesterday, I'm at school. It's the first week of class. I open the door. Student's looking at me. Does like a triple take. Sits down. Doing my, before the class
Spiel.
starts. No, I'm not even spiel. I'm just getting stuff ready. He looks at me and he goes, were you at Aquashella? Do you go to Aquashellas? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you've got a YouTube channel, don't you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, John? I can't even get away from it in my own classroom now. I'm like,
That's amazing. I love
not
it.
John.
No.
Jason.
Were you like,
he's like, oh, yeah. It's like
yeah.
the prime time. I'm like, yes, I'm that one.
You're the other one.
In my own classes, my
What a
own
hoot.
students, the ones that watch, and the guy just happened to notice, and he was like, still not quite right. So, yeah, it was crazy. And then I didn't tell you this today. In my other class, one of the girls in my class, they watch.
Oh, really?
Like, right away,
Oh,
because
cool.
I do like my before thing, and I'm like, I keep fish tanks. Like, interrupted my whole thing, like my whole intro. Oh my gosh, I watch your stuff. I went down a rabbit hole spiral, and I was like, well, there you go.
Yeah, Fish Keepers Unite.
How about that? Nice to always have some fish nerds in class. All right, let me see. All right, we're scrolling around. Ojinga. I've got a 25 gallon that I'm planning for Africans, and I've decided on a small colony of Similis and some other small African like Lelupai or Julie's. What other species you recommend? Okay. I'm glad you went to Lake Tanganyikan route because I was hoping you weren't going Lake Malawi with that size tank, but 25 gallon is sufficient for certainly something like Similis. That's a really cool fish. You've got the rock dweller situation, so you've got Lelupai, you've got Julie Chromis. So there's a lot of different types of Julies. One of my personal favorites is the Ornatus. That's why I did a species profile on them. I like the yellow and the black. They offer a decent amount of color. The Lelupai offer that orange color, which is really cool. I like Transcriptus because I like that checkerboard pattern. Dickfeldi are pretty cool as well. Reagani are really cool. They have a black variety that's kind of interesting. So that, like for the rock dwellers, I would certainly look into all those. But the Ornatus, those are my favorites. You're going to have to be a little careful though on the 25 gallon because if you mix those fish, you're probably not going to get any breeding going on. I'm assuming the 25 gallon is probably like 30 inches. And so in which case you are going to have to be careful. You could have some aggression issues. Obviously you're going to want some shells on one side, rocks on the other, but that's not a ton of space. And so you still might get some things going on if your shell dwellers start to breed or if your rock dwellers start to breed in the rocks because they're going to be somewhat territorial. Where when I like to mix those Lake Tanganyikan fish, I really would prefer to have at least a 40 breeder, so a 3-foot tank or greater. So to maximize your success, I might just stick with either the shell dwellers or the rock dwellers and see how that goes. It's so funny.
James says, I saw a thumbnail of one of your old videos and was wondering who the guy with the goatee was that you photoshopped in. It was you. LOL.
Mm-hmm.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, so I have had facial hair probably since
I met you.
Well, yeah, which was what? Well, I started at that company in 98.
Yeah. So you
So,
started.
and I had facial hair before that. So I'm thinking consistently since 94-ish,
a long time.
94, so
the other-
almost 30 years.
The other night I had a dream that you shaved off
Yeah,
your beard,
she
and
tells me
all
this
he
dream.
had was like a mustache, like a little mustache.
Yeah, just
And
this
I was
little
like-
part here.
I was mad because I'm like, you didn't even like warn me, and you were like, what? And I was like,
I had, so sometimes, the other day I had a dream that I did shave off my beard, but I had long hair. And I was like playing with it. I was like pulling it back and I was tying it back, kind of like what Eli does. Our son,
Yeah.
he's got longer hair. So I was like, and it was cool because it was kind of like wavy and not,
Cool.
but it like,
Nice.
it kind of looked like Aragorn's hair from Lord of the Rings.
that's cool.
It was,
Well,
just nice. It was a nice head
they
of hair.
all
I
have
had.
long hair
Except,
in
of
that
course,
movie.
it was blonde because that's my natural hair color. Well, my hair is like naturally blondish, reddish, tannish. I look like a mutt, basically.
but if you're in Lord of the Rings, you have to
Basically,
have
my
long
hair is kind of like an
hair.
OB.
Legolas, Gandalf,
Yeah. But I am growing out my hair. So
Samwise.
I've been
even
saying
has
this for
long hair.
years. When my hair goes gray like the sides of my beard, I'm growing it back out. And I'm going to grow it long. I'm going to look like Gandalf. I think it's still going to be okay. I've got all of this part. I've got this. I've got a little bit, not so much here in terms of my hair. So I think in total cover, it's going to be fine. But I also know that like all up in here, if I let my hair go for a few days, it is like whitish gray like this. So I'm going to have to wait probably another 5 years or until like this one over here stresses me out a little bit more, which you really don't do. That's probably why it's not working as
Really,
fast as I
I'm
want.
sorry.
Yeah.
I would say I'll try, but I'm not going to try.
Yeah, don't do that.
I'm not going to try.
So,
There was a number of questions here. Oh, Lucas wanted to know if we keep bulbitis. Heck, yeah, you got some bulbitis. I'm a little obsessed. I'm frequently obsessed with multiple aquatic plants at the same time, but I do love bulbitis a whole lot.
yeah, it's true.
Oh yeah.
She spent a lot of our green water. So green water this past weekend, and I posted this on YouTube. The members posting, they got to see what we got. Don't worry, you're all going to see it eventually. But the Green Waters Aquarius Society is really cool because this thing that they do pays for the membership easily. In the summertime, they do a summer picnic, and they give each member
Indoor.
points, 300 points. Then they go out and they buy a whole bunch of stuff, fish and plants and all kinds of fish-related things, and you spend your points buying these things, but you never actually spend any actual dollars.
Cool.
So we had everybody gets 300 points, and so it's kind of like strategery. Do you want to just like, I really want that, I'm just going to shout out 300 points right away and know that I got it? Or do I want to kind of space things out? Are there multiple bags? Is the price going to go up later, go down? So the 300 points got us an orange crayfish, a little one. I just wanted it, so I got it. It got me a group of gold head compressiceps. So those are Lake Tanganyikan fish. Those are really quite desirable. They're small. They're like this big, but I think there was like 6 or 7 in the bag. And then you got a whole bunch of plants. So at least like 3 bags of plants. So that's how we spent our
Yippee.
300 points. Dave, thank you so much for being a member for the last 18 months. It's hard to believe the time goes by so
Man.
fast.
Hey.
Is there such a thing as angelfish sorority instead of pairs? If so, how many in a 60 breeder or a 75 gallon?
That's a very interesting
That's a great question. I think obviously that's going to, if you're trying to keep a group, that's probably going to be your best bet. The issue is going to be obviously differentiating the females from the males at a smaller size. So probably that's why, I don't know if a lot of people do it. I don't know if you hear a lot about it, because generally speaking, I think what people do is they get a group and then they just start pulling out the troublemakers until they have something that resembles, a nice group. So yeah, I think it's possible. I just don't know how practical it's going to be in getting those, but it's worth a try. Oops, things skipped around. Stephanie, thank you so much for the hey you. Appreciate it. Glad you're here. Chris, appreciate the super chat. I have thick biofilm in my Betta tanks and was wondering if it's okay for them, or should I add snails to help control the biofilm due to low flow? If it's due to low flow, I would add the snails because it's never going away. Most likely, because those biofilms, when they form on like decorations or on the glass, due to that low flow, eventually what you might start to see is green hair algae. So it's probably best to add some snails and let them do their thing, because If it was just a temporary thing like, oh, I've got biofilm on my driftwood, yeah, that's going to go away. That other stuff may not. I think.
It's 8:45.
Yeah, I think we need to do the giveaway.
Giveaway time.
So the giveaway,
Woo!
just for those of you who are new or forgot the rules are you got to be in the lower 48 states. That's the only place we can ship. And yeah, and we'll talk about what we're giving away here. So
And what you have to do.
and what you have to do, yeah. Three things. So a single winner is going to win 3 different things. And today, this time, the giveaway is sponsored by Fritz Aquatics. For those of you who've been with the channel for a while, you know that we only have 2 channel sponsors. Flip Aquatics, who sells all these awesome nano fish and shrimp and everything. And then Fritz Aquatics. And they are the makers of all really cool aquarium type additives, chemicals, dechlorinators. We talk all the time about Fritzzyme 7, Fritzzyme Turbo Start, or Fritz Turbo Start, which is live nitrifying bacteria. They have a bunch of meds that they also have. So what we're going to be doing today is basically a little med combo. The first one is this is Expel P, and these are just cool things to have if you've got tanks. You might not need them right away, but when you do need them, you want them on hand. And so this Expel P is really great stuff. I cannot even begin to read half of the stuff, but this has got levamisole in it. I love levamisole as a medication that clears internal parasites. I've had issues with fish that have had internal parasites, and I try some of the other common meds. It doesn't work. This usually does a great job. So this is levamisole. This is one of those meds where if you've got fish that have bloat or they've got some type of intestinal thing going on, internal parasite, this is a great thing to have on hand. And there's 20 packets in here, and I think each packet, I want to say, and again, I didn't read the whole thing. Yeah, it's 10 gallons of water. So this is something it's good to have on hand. The other one is somewhat similar, and that's Paracleanse. And so this is a good medication to also have on hand. I'm trying not to get the glare, sorry. So the Paracleanse is another one that we have, and this is metronidazole. So this is another one of those medications. Metronidazole does a lot of things, and it's been used in the past to deal with external parasites, but this is also a good one for internal parasites. So both of these, the winner is getting both of them. And then we have a more natural sort of medication, still a Fritz product, and this is Parashield. And so Parashield, this is more for the external stuff like ick and velvet, some more of the external parasites. So this one is a little bit less harsh than some of the other meds that you would use. It's a nice go-to. It's also a nice preventative if you've got fish that are going to be in quarantine and you kind of want to straddle that. I don't really want to hardcore treat my fish with a lot of different meds, but at the same time, I'm running a little bit of a risk because maybe you got them from a pet store that, let's face it, sometimes some of the pet stores have a worse reputation than others, but you saw a fish you really wanted, and you just want to be on the safe side. So this Parashield can be a really good thing. But if you want more information about meds, I always recommend people, if they just want information in general, go to fritzaquatics.com, because they have not only the list of all the meds that they produce, but what they do, and it's a learning experience. So if you don't have like a big textbook like we have laying around the house, like fish parasites, and you just want to kind of go on the internet, see which meds treat which diseases, fritzaquatics.com is a place to go. And if you're looking for these meds, if these are things like, it really would be a good idea to have some of this stuff on hand, Flip Aquatics carries a lot of these meds, and that is definitely a place to go. Again, we're sponsored by both, love them both. People ask us all the time, how do we do the sponsorships? We build relationships with companies, and there is never any talk of any kind of sponsorship until we've gotten to know the people. I can't tell you how many, I don't even know every month. Maybe a half a dozen companies reach out to us every single month. Hey, you want us to sponsor your channel? We'll send you all this stuff. We'll send you money. And, well, by watching the channel how many sponsors we've had in the past, and that's these 2. So that will give you an idea of where we're at. So here's how you win these 3 wonderful products. Again, got to be in the lower 48.
And have to be in live chat.
And oh yes, please. So there are 2 things when you're looking on your phone, iPad, computer screen. There are 2 different options. One says live chat, one says top chat. We are always making sure that we are in live chat because that just shows the chat as it appears. If you're in top chat, it's going to show you basically the chat, the comments that you would probably enjoy the most. So you got to be in live chat. Okay, that all being said, and I'm going to just double check and make sure I am in the proper setting. In order to do this, you need to pick a number between 1 and 20. The first person that picks the number that Joanna has in her hand is going to be the winner. So let's see here. Between 1 and 20 is the number, and did we get it?
I've got one. I got to make sure
Stop.
it's the first one.
Okay, we're done.
Oh, geez.
We're already done.
Yeah, wow, that was fast.
Somebody got...
Sometimes it goes...
Yep. We can stop typing the numbers now.
Okay.
I have...
Hold on. Mine,
okay. Well,
my chat is like going crazy.
It's right here.
Maybe. Let me make sure.
Hold on. We're just going to double check, but you can stop typing the numbers because it makes the chats go crazy if you keep typing in the numbers. I
believe so. Can you go up? Because I can't go up.
That's as far. That's it.
Wow.
So that's right there.
Okay, I'm going to double check here.
All right. So we're just checking all the numbers because we want to make sure we're on our game. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the winner. All right. So you want to hold up the number?
Yeah.
The number is number 6, and that's QD McGraw.
Yay!
QD McGraw, you are the winner of tonight's giveaway. And don't worry if you haven't won. We are going to have lots more of these. We do 2 every month at least. So, and that's made possible by Fritz and Flip Aquatics because they sent us the stuff to give to you. And that's the deal. So, QD McGraw, in order to have us send you the things that you just won, what you need to do is send an email. Here's the address. It's Prime Time Giveaway.
Singular.
Yep, all one word, Primetime Giveaway at yahoo.com. Send us your name along with your mailing address, and we will try to get the stuff in the mail in the next few days. Last week's winner, unfortunately, we didn't get that. Did we get that in the mail today? Did we do that, or is that tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so we went a little longer than we normally like to. We usually like to get this stuff out within a few days, but last week it went a little longer. So, Cutie McGraw.
It's getting the actual box.
Yep.
Fits everything.
Prime Time Giveaway at yahoo.com. Send us your info. We'll get you your stuff. Thank you, everybody, for playing this fabulous giveaway game. Really appreciate it.
Whip tried again with 47.
Yeah, Whip really likes 47.
Yeah.
Someday.
Even before it started, he tried.
I know.
Good try, Whip.
He's a hard-trying person.
Yeah, he even spelled it out.
Matthew does stuff. Stop, we done. Yeah, because everybody's chat goes crazy. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. And even though you type it in probably right away, depending on your internet speed and everything like that.
Because of what we do, we've got like the fastest internet speed we can possibly get. And even then, like the thing just goes totally crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
Now we can go back to business.
Questions.
Back to business. And that's your business. All right. Let me...
Any tips on discus and how to breed successfly?
No.
2 foot, no, huh?
I've only kept discus once, and I've never bred them. Discus people, Joey, he has a whole big series, a really old one on how he bred discus.
And Lisa, I know she loves discus.
Yeah,
Have they ever bred them?
I don't know.
You could check.
She loves discus. I don't know if they bred them or not, but I just know that
they're beautiful.
At one point, this was many years ago, King of DIY, Joey did a whole big series on that stuff, and he bred a lot of discus. So the Zen Ginger flips table. Dang it! Yeah. What the heck, man? I know it. I know the feeling, the excitement, the racing heart. The fingers are going crazy, just like pow, 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 pow.
Oh, Lynn says that he's breeding them again.
Oh,
Joey.
good. Okay, so yeah, that might be that would probably be the place to go to see if you get more info. But yeah, we always. I mean, I know you've been wanting to keep them for a while. It's just a matter of finding the biggest tanks we have are 125s and 150s, so we'd have to clear one of those out for them. Mm-hmm. And
that would be amazing.
It would be, but we just don't have the space right now, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see here. Fatboy Fish Guy says, sorry to bother. I heard Chem Prime raises pH in ammonia. Do you know anything about that? Never have experienced that. I used that product quite a bit in the past. I don't remember it ever doing anything to our pH or having any ammonia. Raising it, for sure, no. That would kind of defeat the purpose of the Chem Prime, I think. But And that being said, our GH and KH are both at 10, so we do have some buffering capacity going on there, but I've never seen that, at least not in the recommended doses.
Gabriel says 6.5 gallon male Betta, 5 zebra Danios.
Hold on, say it again because I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry. I was zoned out for a second. At least I admit it.
You did. All right. 6.5 gallon
Okay.
male Betta,
Yes.
5 zebra Danios,
Okay.
and a small Pleco. Live plants in rock caves. Thoughts?
I would say stay with the Betta. Forget the Daniels. They're going to shred those Betta fins like nobody's business. I sometimes wonder, they've got the tiniest minute brain, but I think 85% of that minute brain is dedicated to eating other fish fins. So I would not add them. And I don't think there is a Pleco that I would put in a 6.5. Even the clown Plecos are a little bit too big. Here's a possible combination for you. Do the Betta and then do a mystery snail or a couple nearite snails. That would be a nice combo. That's a combo we've done a million times. So the mystery snail will take care of that algae issue, and the Betta can just have his fun time. But a Betta, even in a 6.5, is going to also be somewhat territorial, most likely. So, yeah.
Oh, and then real quick here, Alhana Suki, I do not have Barterai Dark Angel, but it is on my list. It is very cool looking. Very cool. So if you've got it, congratulations.
So Whip Swirl. Jason, guess what? People keep confusing me with you too. I can't tell you how many times people think I'm you. And then when I tell them I'm not you, they think I'm John. If you've never met Whip, first of all, he's an awesome dude. Second of all, he's probably got me beat by at least 8, 9, 10 inches in height.
What are you, 6'5"?
I feel like a child.
Are you 6'5"?
When I'm standing next to Whip. And he's also got really long hair, and that would also be another reason why we wouldn't sometimes get confused. But I still totally see it. I totally see it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's definite resemblance.
Yep.
Yeah.
I understand. J.E., how do lower both ammonia and pH at the same time? I would only concern myself with the ammonia at first because that's a problem. That's life-threatening to your fish. So we want to make sure the ammonia is at 0. And then we deal with the pH. And it depends on what the pH is, because if the pH is in an acceptable range, I don't think I would mess with it at all. Once you start chasing a pH number, it's very difficult to stabilize that pH unless you've got a lot of experience doing it. And you are a person who's kept fish for a very, very long time. So, like for us, I don't mess with pH. The easiest way to lower pH is actually using RO, because the RO water removes the carbonate hardness, the KH, the buffering capacity, and then you can add things like botanicals, like driftwood, like peat, and that will have a greater impact on the pH, and then the trick is stabilizing it. But it's a lot of work. And a pH that is fluctuating is far more dangerous than a pH that may be slightly out of the range. Now, if you're talking about 9.6 or something, that's different. But if you're under an 8, I don't know if I would change it. There's still so many fish you can keep with that pH.
Oh, Thomas says, just moved a hang-on back filter intake sponge with pygmy cory eggs on it to a breeder box. Eggs should hatch in a couple of days. What do I do if they hatch?
For pygmy cories?
Pygmy cories, oh my gosh.
I would, so that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yes.
They need really tiny food, so they're not going to be big enough to eat live baby brine when they first hatch. I would probably use like the powdered form of Repashy. So I know Repashy, you can, the whole point is to make it a gel, and then plecos and grazers eat on it. But the powder form is very, very fine. You just have to be so careful, making sure, especially with cory cats, that whatever food you put in the tank, they can find it. So you said you've got them in a breeder box right now. I keep them there, especially if it's one of those breeder boxes that's either completely submerged in the tank so the tank water is circulating, or it's an air-powered one where the water is circulating through. Feed them small amounts. If you're doing that, I would probably, if it's one where they've got a lot of flow, first of all, if it's a breeder box that has a netting on the bottom, that's going to be a problem, because then the powdered Repashy is just going to go right out of that breeder box. If it's a solid one hanging on the side of the tank, those are much better. I would make sure there's no water flowing through that. feed them that powdered rapashi, and then once they're done eating, get that get the power back on so the water can circulate again.
And Matthew, you've got that 1 gallon. Yeah, I'd have to say no for scarlet Battis. It's too small. For my venti, I'm going to be scaping it pretty soon. And I'm not even going to put anybody in there. Not even shrimp. I may put like a little snail in there, like a little just pest snail. But yeah, it's too small. The smallest I ever kept Battis in was a 3.5 gallon long, and that's like the smallest.
Yep, I would agree with that statement. I just saw one I really wanted to answer, and now I don't know where it went because I lost it.
You lost it?
I did lose it, so
I'm sorry.
unfortunately. Okay. Thomas says, "Hi guys, just moved a hang-on back filter intake sponge with pygmy core." Oh, shh. But you want?
I was going to let you go.
I want you all to notice the difference here. When I do this, after about 5 words, I stop.
Yeah.
When my lovely wife does this, she'll state the whole question and then look at me like it's time for you to
I'm
answer.
intent.
You are. You're in your defense. You are looking
I'm
for
like focused.
things. So,
I know
this is the one. Ask Kirkpatrick. Have you guys ever raised chili raspberries? So, not from fry. We don't breed them. I don't breed raspberries. It's too much of a pain.
That would be too cute.
But we've kept at this point a bunch of different types of smaller raspberries, chilies, the dwarfs, the miras, emeralds, galaxies, brilliant greens,
Green
exclamation
kubutai.
point, green kubutai. Yeah, so in terms of just keeping them, yeah, I mean, they're really easy to keep. We just kind of crush up some flake food, don't overfeed them. And yeah, what we found, here's an interesting little side note, is the dwarf raspberry they really love some water flow.
Oh my gosh, they're like surfers.
We've got
let's
you set
go.
up that 5.5 gallon, that Aquatop tank,
Yeah.
and we originally put a sponge over the intake because it was really coming out. They just sit there all day long. They're like,
That's
"Hey
the
man,
only
this
place
is
they
so
go."
great. This is like they just want to hang out in the flow all the time."
They're doing
But
X
that flow
Games.
is kind of extreme. I would have thought that they would have done something, but like kind of hide away. But no way, man. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see here. Alhana. Okay, never mind. That's answer to a question. Alyssa says, "I have a question. Is a 55 gallon okay for 2 red-tail catfish?" No. Red-tail catfish, there's not many standard tanks out there. You really need, my gosh, 12-foot tank, I would say. A 12-foot tank that's going to be at least, so 12 feet long. If I were keeping a red-tail cat, I would probably want a 12-foot tank that's a minimum of 4 feet wide and probably 3 or 4 feet tall. They get crazy massive. Even like Ohio Fish Rescue. I've been to Big Rich's place many times, and he's got some big fish there. And he's got, of course, the massive pond, and where he keeps some really large fish because it's like many, many, many tens of thousands of gallons. Those red-tail cats were small compared to the ones I saw when we were at the public aquarium in Dallas last year. I think it was Dallas. It was a relatively small aquarium, but I thought it was Dallas. Maybe it was Orlando. Maybe I'm getting confused. No, it was Dallas. And they had they had a bunch of large aquatic mammals in there. But they had red-tail cats that were the biggest I've ever seen in my life. They were absolutely huge. And it really impressed upon me yet again, those things don't belong in the aquarium hobby unless you've got basically an in-ground pool like some people do, and they keep tens of thousands of gallons in that in-ground pool. But they're massive fish. Now, if you're talking about red-tailed shark that only gets 6 or 7 inches, or the rainbow shark, you could do it in a 55, but I'd only keep one. That's how I'd roll with that. That says, love my little bitty rasboras. I know they're great fish.
Aren't they fun?
They are one of my favorite non-cichlid freshwater fish, the rasboras, because you can keep them. They're so small, and they're generally speaking so well behaved, and you can keep them in such large groups, and you don't need a big tank to keep a large group, which
right.
I really like.
Mm-hmm.
Let's says pond okay? Yeah, as long as it's, again, the pond would have to be, you're looking at multiple thousands of gallons for your pond if I were doing a red-tailed cat in there. And also know that it's going to devour a lot of other fish, and even smaller koi would probably wind up going missing when that thing gets full grown. Irvin says, any rules for keeping an all-male guppy tank? Thank you for all your help. Well, thank you. That's a good question. I don't know if there's any rules. A lot of people do it because they don't want to have the breeding, so that's one way to go. I'd probably want at least a 10-gallon. A 20-gallon would be even better if you could do it that way. And then if it, let's say, was a 20-gallon, it doesn't matter if it's 20 standard, 20 long. If you are really interested in doing like a male guppy tank, I might try to do, I don't know, at least 10 or 12 in a 20 to start with and see how that works. Know that there could still be some aggression. All right, you never know. Ray says, I have 12 rainbow sharks in my 55. Yeah, at that point now you're getting to the overcrowding area, which, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean kind of like cichlids or the Betta sorority, where maybe it's a little bit easier to deal with. I would be curious how long you've had that. Has it been like a number of years where they're full grown and you found a sweet spot where they settled in? Or are they all brand new and then we wait 6 months and something could happen? But I'm curious how long you've had that, because that's kind of cool. Miss Kitty, how to cure guppies with white fuzz on them, not ick? Well, white fuzz could be fungal, it could be bacterial. So again, what you're looking for there, I really like the Maricin Oxy for that. So that's another Fritz product, I know. But the Maricin, there's 3 types. There's Maricin 1, Maricin 2 that comes in a powder form. The Maricin Oxy is one that I've used for like the white fuzz type stuff. It took care of it pretty fast. Flo says, I keep getting this long hair algae in the tank. How do I get rid of it? Go ahead. Give us your best shot there, young lady.
I did a video on the small scape, how to get rid of green hair algae. So you can watch that if you want. Basically, green hair algae, remove what you can, okay? With a toothbrush is really good. I also like to use a root touch-up brush that you can get off of Amazon, because the brushes, instead of like a toothbrush, you have the brushes coming down, so sometimes you actually can't like get to the area. The other brush has the brushes facing down, which will be very helpful. Get it off of whatever you can, because depending on your type, it's going to probably attach itself to all of the plants and the hardscaping and everything. Really fun. Remove what you can, and then I would recommend, I really like putting in hornwort. Chuck some in at the top of the tank. You can use floating plants that are going to kind of steal some of those nutrients from them and say, no, you don't need all that. And then you can even try reducing some of the light, either the length of time or even the intensity, which if you do add hornwort or floating plants, that will kind of reduce some of the light getting to that lovely hairy stuff.
And it will increase competition so that your green hair algae doesn't have as much nutrients to feed from.
Yeah.
On the living side of things, you could, depending on your stocking levels, if you had a bunch of shrimp, they will sometimes put a dent in it. There are some fish that eat it. Certainly the Florida flagfish will eat that stuff and they just go crazy for it, but they're somewhat fin nippy and aggressive. So I'd want at least a 20-gallon for them, and make sure I don't have any long-fin fish or fish that can easily be bullied, because they are fairly assertive. Every once in a while, so in larger tanks, I've used sailfin mollies. My black mollies, I told the story before, I put them in that 50-gallon originally because there was some green hair algae in there thinking they would eat it. They never touched it. But my sailfin mollies would eat that stuff pretty regularly. But the Florida flagfish definitely do. Cichlids, African, especially the Lake Malawi cichlids, but if you don't have a cichlid tank and you've got a planted tank, that's not a good idea, because they'll eat the green hair algae, then eat some of your plants too. I saw, Kenny, are you using beard oil? Nope. I have some. I've used it in the past periodically, but I haven't put beard oil on or around my beard in probably a year, maybe longer. So yeah, it's just whatever it does, it does. I wake up in the morning, I go like this, and hopefully it's not having a bad day when it's humid. I always feel horrible because like when we're in Florida, when we do the Aquashellas in Orlando and it's so humid there, the thing's just like the whole weekend. People probably be like, dude, your beard's kind of messed up. Yeah, I know, because I'm in 96% humidity and it's now doing a crazy thing. It's not appreciating it. Ray says that he's had those 12 rainbows in that 55 for a year. That's cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's cool.
Paul says, bought my first German blue ram. Water parameters seemed good. Temperature was about 80. Read up on the fish. Asked some questions. Got from the local fish store. Dead 3 days later. Any advice? Read about bad fish quality.
Yeah, that's another one. I personally think that the German blue rams are getting to that point. Like we talked earlier about the Bettas. Neons are another one that just historically, I feel bad. People are like, I bought 20 neons and half of them died. I'm like, yeah, well, that's what happens. And it's not uncommon to see that. German blue rams will do that. But in addition to the temperatures, and I actually I would push them a little bit higher than that, maybe 82. They really don't do well, at least in our experience, in water that's even remotely on the hard side or with a higher pH. So if I'm doing German blue rams, I prefer to have a pH of around 7, maybe even a little bit lower. And KH, especially, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there, no higher than that. It could go lower. So they tend to be a little finicky. And when they're young, I've lost my fair share of German blues on the younger side. This is pretty cool. Sergey says he's letting his hair grow long. He's retired. He just retired the other day.
Nice.
So happy retirement.
Congratulations.
That's cool. A little more time on your hands and make a big old bucket list of things you want to do now. That'll be cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me see here. David Glass. What do you think about Oscars? How many can I have in a 75 gallon? I love Oscars. I think they are one of the most personable fish that one can purchase.
Mm-hmm.
In a 75, however, I would just I gotta be careful here. I would start out one in a 75 knowing that I'm going to have to move it to at least a 6-foot tank. Even Chaz, the last Oscar that we had, at his size, I'm not saying full grown, at his size, he was about 12 or 13 inches. He started to look a little cramped in our 125. So, again, I've seen Oscars approach that 14 or 15 inches and get real tall bodied. And when I first saw those that size, I was like, wow, you very rarely ever see them just on all their glory, full grown. They get really big. And so long term, I'd feel even better about like a 6 foot 150 or a 6 foot 180 is even better. There you might be able to keep multiples as long as they're getting along, but 75 is basically one, and knowing I've got to switch it out at some point. And they grow really fast, so you're not going to have a ton of time to make that decision either. All right, let me scroll around here.
This is from Alice. Any reason a well-established tank, the water would go cloudy? 55-gallon, well-planted, water changed every 2 weeks, 50%. Nothing new added for some time.
Yeah, it happens.
I hate that. It's weird. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
We'll have tanks that just go through that every once in a while where you do the water change. Right now, our 40-gallon breeder that's got our blue dream shrimp, it will just do that every once in a while, water change it. It'll look cloudy, leave the tank alone. Sometimes the best thing to do is if your water parameters are okay, just leave it alone. Wait 2-3 days. It's like, well, yeah, then it cleared up, but then I did a water change and it got cloudy again. Yep, that can happen. So that's usually what happens with our blue dream tank, and when it goes through these streaks. The other thing is, when was the last time, I don't know what kind of filtration you're running, but if you have, let's say, filter floss and a hang-on back, when was the last time that was changed out? Is it getting really gunked up and incapable of trapping any more stuff? If you're using sponge filters exclusively, when was the last time those things were rinsed out and cleaned out? Because they will stop trapping stuff, and that can lead to some cloudy water as well. Look for anything in the tank that could be dead. Sometimes fish get themselves wedged into, between rocks, or if you said it's a planted tank, maybe they're in a place where you can't really see that there's something in there that died. That can be a cause as well. Sometimes if people do a gravel vac, disturb the substrate, if they don't normally do that, that can lead to a little bit of cloudy water, just kind of create a little bit of an issue there in your ecosystem. So, yep. All right, let me see here. What do we got? Hold on. Josh says, all right, been trying to ask a question literally since it started. Don't know why, but
Oh, boy.
seems like no one is seeing my questions or just not bothering to answer. Disappointing. Guess I'll watch replays. No, send it again. So, yeah, send it again. And
Who's it from?
Josh.
Josh.
So look for Josh and see if he sends it again. We'll see if we can answer it.
We
And keep in
tried,
mind, I know
yeah.
every once in a while someone's like, man, you know what, you didn't answer my question. I know I've mentioned this before, but in a typical live stream, especially one with the giveaway, there are 1,200 comments that come through over 90 minutes. Start doing the math on that. We're going to miss a few every once in a while.
And a skipping
So,
chat.
Yeah, and then
You're
the chat
usually going
skips
down
around.
and trying to go back up again.
Yeah, because we have to, sometimes it gets stuck. But at 1,200 questions in 90 minutes, that's a lot. So,
All right.
yeah.
I think I found it.
Okay.
This is from Josh. Josh, if you're still here and not watching the replay, but if you are watching the replay, here you go. How many, I think guppies can be safely kept in a 55 without crowding issues? In a 55.
Well, it depends on if you want other fish in the tank. You know, again, you could do, well, first of all, if you're keeping males and females together, why not just do 2 or 3 males and, I don't know, 8 to 10 females? They'll fill that tank. And then what's going to wind up happening in years, you're just going to be pulling guppies out, lots of guppies, and you'll be bringing them to pet stores and stuff. If it's male only and you want to start with a dozen or so, do that. And then you'll have room for other fish as well. But yeah, Lynn says, I'd start with 2. It will fill up. It does.
Give it a week.
You'd be surprised. There are certain fish that breed really fast. Guppies are one. The Neolamprologus brashardi, the Lake Tanganyikan cichlid, those things breed like crazy. They fill tanks pretty quick as well. Our tiger linea, once they got going, they could fill a tank pretty fast too.
I think I know. We've had a lot of questions. Have you noticed tonight on 55 gallons?
Yeah.
I'm looking at 2 more questions, so that might be
right.
why it got missed. Let's see. All right, so Casey, can you put a pair of blue angelfish with a male or female betta without issues? Also, what other fish would you suggest for a communal 55 gallon?
So angelfish and bettas, I'd be really careful there because angelfish can sometimes be a little bit assertive. They're going to win that fight. 9 times out of 10, an angelfish, if it decides this is my tank, I don't like the way this betta looks, it's going to shred that betta up, and it will do it. Probably not when the angelfish is young, because they tend to be pretty happy-go-lucky when they're small. But once they get to the size of, like, I don't know, that big around or so, this big, they become a little bit more assertive. They become a little bit more territorial, and sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes it does. What size tank was it, a 55? Mm-hmm. There's enough space there where maybe they just don't come into contact that often, but you do run a risk there. So if you try it, have a backup plan and just keep a close eye on making sure that angelfish doesn't decide that it doesn't like the betta and starts ripping it apart.
Now, also for the 55, how many Burmese clouded archer fish would you put?
I have no idea. I've never kept a Burmese clouded archer fish in my life.
Sounds cool, though.
But that being said, for some reason in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, I think those things get fairly large. And I don't know if I'd keep them in a 55. Not having kept them, never, ever having kept them, only seeing them in a public aquarium or at a pet store when they were small, my spidey senses are telling me that they get too big for a 55. But I could be off. If someone's kept them and knows more than me, feel free to pipe in and be like, man, that dude has lost it. Yeah. Let's see here. I am scrolling around. Alyssa says, how do you get rid of brown algae in an aquarium? Thank you for your time and help. Well, thank you. So brown algae, if we're just talking about the slimy brown algae, not blackbeard algae, but brown algae is fairly easy to deal with. Usually that tends to grow when there's too much nutrients, i.e. nitrate is too high. And so let's keep an eye on that, making sure that we're hitting around 20 parts per million or less throughout the course of our water change schedule. Possibly lights are left on too long. And then in terms of, there's lots of living things that get rid of that, just that standard brown algae. Bristlenose plecos, clown plecos, mystery snails, nearite snails, all will take care of that stuff and make it go away. So you have that option as well. So it's a combination of, are my nitrates too high? If they are, let's lower them. How long are you leaving your lights on? Usually if you're going beyond 8-9 hours in most situations, more of it is probably not necessary. And then find something that'll eat it.
Oh, Matthew, want to know easy stem plant, low light for a 5-gallon. Actually, you know what? One of the ones I would recommend, but this is my personal preference, is I do actually like Bacopa because how I purchase it, and that's through tissue cultures when they're very, very small, and it's a very slow growing plant that you can trim and move elsewhere. So it's kind of a great little, like a little juvenile tank to grow it up. So I would actually, that would be one of my go-tos. And then I currently have that in a multiple 5 gallons.
Tisha says, I have 10 endlers and 10 cherry shrimp in a 5-gallon planted tank. Is that too much? You're probably approaching max capacity, if not slightly above it, with the 10 endlers. So the cherry shrimp are fine. That's not an issue. But I might be careful with the endlers, especially if they start breeding. You'll have to pull the fry out. And yeah. So, and plus endlers are really, really, really active. So sometimes a 5-gallon isn't always enough space for them. They're small, don't get me wrong. We've had endlers in a 5-gallon before, and I think you only had, maybe 3 or 4 or maybe 5 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I think you eventually moved them out because they were too crazy for that space, and you moved them into, I think we actually put them in one of my 20 gallons downstairs.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're crazy.
They are crazy. All right, we'll do a couple more questions. Starting to get to that time of the evening. A skydiver says, pH dropped from 7 to 6.3 overnight, lost 2 stirbicories, a Madagascar rainbow, and an Odo. Think maybe I had a spike or something. 75-gallon planted tank. So 7 to 6.3, yeah, that's a big drop overnight. So my questions would be, do you have a ton of plants in that tank? All right, so if you do, and you also have I know you said it's a planted tank, but if it's really heavily planted, and let's just say, for instance, you had very low flow, what plants will do in the course of an evening or the course of a night when the lights go off is they actually consume oxygen, produce CO2. That CO2 in an aqueous environment converts to carbonic acid, which lowers pH. That can happen if your KH, your carbonate hardness, is just naturally low. So if you don't have water that is well buffered, like let's say your KH is 1, 2, 3, somewhere in there, and you had a crazy heavily planted tank, not a ton of flow, and you have that issue where the plants really start taking in a lot of oxygen, releasing a lot of CO2, that could lower the pH. Now, it could have been happening for a while, and just, you finally lost some fish and tested it and like, this could be part of the issue, right? Also, if something died, that could set a cascade. If you've got very, very low KH, that could make pH a little bit more acidic as well with some of the organics. So all of those things could be possibilities.
All right, Oink. Oink has a question.
Yes, of course.
Hi, Oink. What fish mystery snail combo was the worst you ever had for the snails? Just got 10 juveniles and want to start plant snailfish nursery in a 20 or 29 gallon. Can you think of any bad combos that we had?
Wait, bad combos with what?
With fish and mystery snails.
We haven't had any bad combos, but we also avoid bad combos. So I would never I shouldn't say never. I would not on purpose put any cichlids with mystery snails because some of them are snail curious, and what that means is they'll start chomping on them. It's happened by mistake. I've had mystery snails in with like my shell dwellers, and they lived a long happy life, and the mystery snails were huge. And then for some reason the Similis left them alone, but I would never do that on purpose because I think they came out of the tank, the breeding tank above, and somehow wound up in the tank below. But I would stay away from all cichlids of all types. I would not combine those. And I think, what else? Loaches, obviously. A lot of your loaches are going to be
curious.
Yes, and want to
Chummy.
Potentially, like, let me taste this thing.
Hey, what you doing?
So I think just broadly speaking, if you stay away from cichlids of all types, loaches of most types, so let's just make a blanket statement just to make things easy. What else? Every once in a while, bettas. I mean, I know we say we keep bettas and mystery snails together, but I've had a number of people say, that didn't work. My betta was going after the mystery snail. It just sat there and hid until it either passed away or we had to change something up. So It doesn't always work, but most of the time it does. Bala sharks, tinfoil barbs, silver dollars will all eat snails. We used to actually put snails in the 150 for them. They would go crazy for them. Raphael cats, I know he really loves snails. So yeah, that's just some. And by the way, thanks for being a member for the last 12 months. Appreciate it. And then we got Nanners. Been a member for 6 months. Thank you. Does Fritz make a bottle of KH? They have a kind of. So they have an African cichlid salt that will help buffer pH and help raise it. So yes, they do make buffering salts, and one of them is for African cichlids, and it's good stuff. I've used it before, and it's worth it. Lucas says I had a peacock gudgeon eat a snail eye once. Yeah, peacock gudgeons can be a little cute. Although I've kept them together and I never noticed a problem, but I wouldn't put it past the peacock gudgeon. I totally believe you. Pea puffers. Thank you very much. Yeah, any puffer for the most part is a bad idea with snails. Thanks, appreciate that. And then Riley said my rams never touched them. That's cool. In fact, yeah, I had Bolivian rams, and I didn't mix them with mystery snails, but I had a bunch of pond snails, and I don't think they really ever did much with them. But you never know. So a blanket statement is just easier. Like, yeah, just snails is sometimes not worth it. Yeah.
For a 5-gallon, yes, S. repens. Should have thought of that. That's a great choice. Yeah, that's a great choice for a smaller tank. Slow growing for me too.
Yeah. Oh, this is called Better Late Than Never. I like that.
Good one.
What does prime time do for fun besides fish keeping? Well, the primary thing lately has been hopping on the motorcycles, right? We do a lot of motorcycle riding. Got a couple 2-tree Harleys that we like to ride around. I spend a fair amount of time at the gym with the boys, so that's at least 4 days a week. We do karate.
Baseball games.
But yeah, just watching baseball now that both of our boys are retired from playing. And we do a lot of, when we go away, when we were in Aquatics, Dallas, we saw the Texas Rangers at their new stadium. That was fun. We saw the Houston Astros. So we'll sometimes travel around and go to different MLB stadiums. But we also really enjoy the minor league teams that are in our area. Mm-hmm. So we've got a few good ones that we like to go to and do that as well. So
yeah, that's super fun.
Yep. And then, of course, you've got your house plants.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
besides all those
garden,
other things.
Outdoor gardening.
Well,
too.
yes, that's for sure. I forgot about that. All right, everybody. I think we're going to call it a night. It is about that time. I want to say thank you to everybody who was here. All the great questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to them all. There's a lot of good ones. Come here next week, same time, same place. Ask your questions. We'll try to answer as many as we can. Thank you to everybody for the super chats and stickers. Our moderators, Oink and Dave, and I know Wendy was here for a while, and Lynn. And I hope I didn't miss anybody else, but thank you for holding down the fort. Really appreciate it. We'll be back. Same time, same place, next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hope to see you there. Have a great rest of the week.
See ya.
See ya. Bye-bye.